Welcome to Beyond the Syllabus, where we talk with superintendents, curriculum leaders, and education innovators who are rethinking what school can be and how it can better serve the academic and personal needs of every learner. So I was reading a little bit about your middle school choice program, and it reads that it provides learning options focused on themes with curriculum that provide student access to unique learning opportunities driven by their passion, inquiry, and community connections. And I was so excited reading that language, specifically the passion and inquiry piece. For me, the inquiry triggers the thought of curiosity, and passion and curiosity are like my two biggest pillars of pedagogy. Can you talk a little bit about the origin of that program and how it
I
works today?
absolutely will. I'm very excited about this, and so I have been a big proponent, and Dr. Mulford as well, of performance-based and experiential learning for some time before we even came to Arkansas, and I know that the prior school that, I worked in and a prior school that Dr. Mulford had worked in, both had programs that allowed parents to enroll their child in what their interest was at a very young age, and so, uh, we decided to pilot last year with the help of Dr. Courtney Morosky, who now is in Granbury, Texas, the choice program for students who were in middle school. And parents could choose whether they wanted to send their child to an outdoor adventure school or whether they wanted to send them to a science explorer school. And those schools focus specifically on those themes. The whole Science Explorers was more critical thinking, a journey through scientific disciplines with hands on activities. And the outdoor adventure was more the wonders of nature, aimed to foster a deep appreciation for the outdoors, even though both, because we live in what I like to call the promised land, Northwest Arkansas, we're so rich in nature, water, cave systems, that both sets of students have multiple trips that they take where they're immersed into Northwest Arkansas and Southern Missouri and the Ozarks. And we're lucky enough to be part of, Northwest Arkansas, which is where the home of, the Walton family is, Sam Walton, and his sister has, created a world-renowned museum there, called Crystal Bridges Museum. It's absolutely outstanding, but we also have a Walton, amphitheater, and we have a Walton theater where the fine arts from New York come down. So our children are able to more than sit and go out and experience the languages and experiences of life, regardless of what their socio-demographics are, that they might not otherwise ever assimilate into. They get to go fishing. They get to go watch a musical. They get to go watch orchestra. They get to go see Rosie the Riveter at the museum. They get to see Grand, Renoir or whoever. And when people think of Arkansas, it's the last thing you would think of is these world-class experiences in the same place where people used to talk about, Dogwood Canyon or whatever, not Dogwood Canyon, Dagwood and Daphne and all of those hillbillies that you would think of. And there's nothing further from the truth. It's really a world-class destination where we focus completely on children and their experiences and their ability to problem solve and to be immersed into those, activities and interactive lessons.
Listen, when I came to Northwest Arkansas for the first time, I was absolutely mind blown. You're right. It was so far from everything I was expecting, and I didn't even get the opportunity to really dive in and discover everything. I mean, we were only there for a day and a half in Northwest Arkansas, but I can't wait to come back. It
Oh,
was
you're
truly
invited
spectacular.
anytime. You're
Thank you.
invited, and anyone else who's listening to the podcast who really wants to experience what this type of immersive experience for students is like, please come. We were talking to the Green Schools National Network about when we finish our next two builds. We're building two junior highs, which are mass timber, and they're also outdoor education and immerse into the forest that we will possibly host the national conference here, and I would welcome anyone to come see our schools and our learning.
Wow. Well, I will not only take you up on that, but I will second that invitation to everyone because it truly
Yeah.
is amazing. So you mentioned Dr. Mulford and how you guys are both kind of sharing this vision for the choice program. There's some other alternative pathways I want to talk to you about going on in Fayetteville, but let's back up a little bit. And you and Dr. Mulford have been working together for a long, long time, right? And he was actually a guest on our show not too long ago, and he graciously hosted me at your district and gave me a tour, and again was just amazed at everything that you guys have to offer. But can
Thank
you
you.
talk a little bit about your relationship with Dr. Mulford and kind of where it
Sure.
all started?
Sure, I love that. So, I started in a very rural part of Missouri in a very small town. I moved as a teacher to the town where I grew up, and from there, because I had a math and computer science background, I was given the opportunity to move to the same school district and meet Dr. Mulford when he was a middle school principal, and I was a technology specialist, technology instructor for that district. Then as fate would have it, as he went up into administration, I followed a similar pathway. I became the curriculum specialist. He became the assistant superintendent over operations. And then he became the superintendent, and I became the assistant superintendent for him before we branched off. And he went to St. Louis, and I went to Rolla, Missouri. And so through that time, we worked together maybe 9 years. He's a very visionary learner, I mean, a visionary leader, and I would say he has a progressive mindset in that he's not afraid to try different things to ensure the success and to address the needs of the whole child. And so I'm very much a follow through person. So I fact find follow through, and I would follow in his footsteps and implement those things which he envisioned. And so that's how I knew him. And then as he retired in Missouri, I also retired in Missouri the same year in different parts of the state, and he became superintendent in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Well, I saw that there were openings down here, and having been a superintendent in Missouri and knowing how operations work, I came down and applied for the job. A panel hired me for the operational side, and that's how we came back together after all these years, 3 years
There
ago.
you go. A unanimous vote too. Don't forget that part.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it
That's
was
true.
great. It was great to read up on that, and so cool that you guys have worked together for so much of your career. Going back to kind of the alternative pathways, you guys also run the highest performing virtual school in Arkansas. Can
True.
you talk a little bit about when that started and what that looks like for your learners?
Um, so that started a number of years ago, actually before COVID.
Oh
Uh,
wow,
before COVID, and then since COVID, I our numbers have dropped a little since COVID, and I think people became came in, and saturated with online education, and they were starving for in person social interaction again, and so. Uh, our parents do have the choice. Arkansas is a school choice state. So parents have the opportunity to go basically anywhere they want to go, pick and choose which school they want their child to be part of. And we're just fortunate enough, some of them choose this. And our virtual school is actually, it's kind of a hybrid in that we actually have teachers teaching those courses and teachers interacting with students on the daily. And so, while they may not be seated all day, every day, they do have interaction with other human beings and adults.
that's cool. Yeah, I know a lot of virtual schools run either asynchronously or anything
Mhm.
like that, but I do think that real time live interaction with teachers and peers is super, super important.
I agree.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, yeah, all of those programs were super cool to read about. And obviously, when Dr. Mulford was on the show, he shared some other parts of his vision, but kind of zooming out a little bit from Fayetteville and just in Dr. Julie Williams's mind, what do you envision for education over the next 5, 10, 50 years?
I think that school choice will become rampant worldwide, and that people will be able to, at a very young age, start creating pathways of interest for their children. And it may be, I do believe, I do believe that there are genetic influences as well as social influences on a child's being. And so I think that people may realize at a very young age what their child's talents are, and that they would be able to personalize their entire education from the time they're very small all the way through. I would hope that with the introduction of artificial intelligence into the world, that people embrace it rather than run from it. In that, and I'm not saying immerse them into a world of technology. Quite the opposite. I would prefer that people use artificial intelligence to shore up the time that they can actually do performance activities. And so instead of sitting and planning and working forever on lesson plans and creative ideas, there are a million creative ideas out there at your fingertips in a couple of seconds with artificial intelligence. And then you would have time to provide the materials to a child for them to have a performance activity to actually demonstrate their understanding of a given task. And so I would hope that the future holds lots of more performance based instruction for students and lots of immersive discipline access to fill in the gaps in achievement, that we can recognize those gaps in achievement earlier. Also, students should have more advanced pathways in the future, I would think, because instead of having chronological courses, which are offered to them, if they have their own pathway of learning, we're going to see more Doogie Howser type kids. Maybe, maybe they're not the strongest in math or reading, but maybe they are an aficionado with a violin or in writing music or those types of things. And so, instead of holding them back with the traditional John Dewey system, we would actually allow them to rapidly go through their learning dependent upon their ability. And that might be that you, even though you are a third grader and you're still reading and doing math on a third grade level, you're actually at a college level on, scripting movies or creating theater or that sort of thing. So there would be, you wouldn't have to be placed in a bucket anymore. I think that there will be equity monitoring to ensure that all kids have access to something where we find their talents. So many kids, we lose them because we don't hone in on their talents or we miss their deficits. And so I think we'll have improved instructional design and it will all be paired with artificial intelligence.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that it's more important to help students learn to identify their own strengths than it is to identify the strengths of students for them, right? But generally speaking, identifying the strengths of every student and giving them the opportunity to pursue disciplines that fit those strengths, right?
Correct.
One of my
Right.
favorite quotes or talks is from Simon Sinek, and he talked about how he doesn't believe in strengths and weaknesses, right? Because we all have characteristics that in some environments are strengths and in other environments are weaknesses. So it's not about what is a strength or what is a weakness. It's about understanding who you are and understanding your characteristics and then putting yourself in as many situations as possible where those come through as strengths.
I love that. So it's more human-centered design
Yeah.
rather than content-centered design. So we can create these systems that reflect the lived experiences of students and families, and then we can design environments around them. That kind of goes with what I was talking about with our new buildings that we're building. They are so focused on the whole human emotional and physical attention of the child's well-being, so that the learning environment is designed to ensure success for children for their emotional well-being as well as their physical and cognitive well-being. And redesigning school schedules, staffing models would look different, and professional development through design would look different. All of those things. So I think we're going to create a greater sense of equity among all people.
Yeah, and I love the wording you use of human centered, right? Our mission is to reimagine education for every student, not just for who they are as a learner, but who they are as a person.
Right.
Taking a holistic approach to understanding students, I think, is so important because there is so much that goes into who is this human sitting in my classroom today, than their test scores from last year, or then their diagnostic results from the fall. So
Right.
much more,
That's
right?
right. That's
So
exactly right.
yeah, I completely agree with you there. Now, I want to we kind of went backwards here as far as starting of
Okay.
present day, but I want to go all the way back to
Okay.
36 years ago.
Okay.
Why education?
Why did I go to education? Oh, that's a great question. So I actually didn't at first. I actually went to an engineering school and I was a math computer science major. And this was before there were any types of personal computers or otherwise. And we basically just used coding systems to learn languages to program. And then after I married and had children, I realized my passion was children and education. And for me, I was like, wonder why I have all this education about programming languages. And then lo and behold, in the 90s, we had computers introduced into education. I was ahead of the loop in that
Adoption
I
curve.
could, yeah, and those early programs that we would get, I could go inside them and I could manipulate them to be a better program. Or in early web design, I could design even, when XML and HTML, all of those things came out. I was able to go in and rewrite programs or design programs that would speak to my families. Before schools had web pages, I had web pages and uh, all types of things like that. And so for me, I just feel like my path, it was my destiny to impact others. And I'm a singer, I'm an actor, those types of things, which were my passion. And really, to be an efficient teacher, you have to have a little bit of that in your pocket as well.
Yeah,
So,
I was gonna ask you about the music background. I saw that you started in elementary school, and then in secondary you ended up teaching music, math, and physics, right?
yes, so I did teach math and physics in secondary school, and I actually taught K-8 music one year. My son was involved in an accident. I took off from public school for a year, but a neighboring school needed a music teacher, and I was a music teacher K through 8, which is kind of
Wow.
my side gig. I having landed in Northwest Arkansas, which is kind of a movie mecca, I've had opportunities to be in a couple of different things. I recently, a couple of weeks ago, was in Texas filming a secret project for Taylor Sheridan, and then like I was just in the movie Sovereign with Dennis Quaid, and I
No
have
way.
yeah, just a couple of cool things on the side that play into, what I believe in, that every person should follow their passion, and you should not pigeonhole yourself into because I am passionate about education, passionate about administration, doesn't mean I don't have a side love. So, yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Wow. Well, our first Hollywood famous person on the
Oh,
show.
no.
I'm
No.
honored.
No, I'm not. I'm not, but thank you.
Yeah. How do you connect the two? Do you think there's a connection between your love for music and love for education?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I it's so interesting to me that I think there's a grand creativity in people who what's really weird is that I'm left brain and right brain because of math and music. And so I think for an elementary teacher, they're very creative. And there's so much music in elementary education. And I can remember back in the 90s, I would sing my spelling words to my students and I sang all day long. And my kids still that are adults and have children of their own or grandchildren remember me singing to them in the classroom. So I do think that people should not hide their talents and they should be a well-rounded teacher, a well-rounded attorney, a well-rounded lawyer, and to instill, integrate your talents into your daily work as well. And so, yeah, everyone should be who they're meant to be, right? That's my whole gist. Equity for all.
100%. 100%. I think for me, over the last couple of years in this entrepreneurial journey, I've found such a great sense of purpose and fulfillment. And there's just zero doubt in my mind that this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Exactly.
But with that has come such a great sense of gratitude that I found that and acknowledging that not everyone does. And I think outside of education, outside of Unique Learn, just from like a humanitarian sense, my wish for everyone is that they find what they're passionate about and find some way to either make it their life's work or to just include it along the ride. Because it is a feeling like no
Agree
other.
with you.
Yeah.
Agree with you. I think to find true happiness in life and a balance in your life, you have to embrace what your passions are. I've seen too many, especially older people, back when we first were sent to college, you had a path, that was your path. You live and die in that path.
Yeah.
And now we realize we should rear our children and those children that we have influence on to like, embrace their passion and live their passion because it's not all about money, right? But you can have both. If
Yeah.
you can have both, but the success of emotional well-being is far outweighs, money.
100%. 100%. And I think for students, what I've learned in the last 2 years, I'm in classrooms, you know, two, three times a month with visiting our teachers and students that are using the platform. And the thing that really shocked me was how disassociated a student's interest was from school, right? To the point where we would ask a student, "What are you interested in?" And they would respond with what they felt like was the right answer. And they would say things like English or math. And it's like, "Listen, don't I'm not going to tell you you can't like math. That's not what I'm saying here. But what do you like to do after school? Like what do you do with your friends?" And it's like, "Oh," and then they say all the things that they like, right? Because obviously kids like a
Right.
bunch of different things. But
That's
that
right.
disassociation was really a shock to me and really sad because we don't do a great job right now of making students feel seen or comfortable with the things that they're passionate about as it relates to school. And I
Oh,
think the
so
second
good.
we can start doing that is the second that students can start building their personas, their careers towards things that they're actually passionate about.
Schools should look radically different. They should have ecosystem for human beings, and it shouldn't just be little factories for credentials. So we should be tailoring our instruction for student interests with
Yes.
individualized pathways, which we spoke about before, with strength-based approach, find their strengths, embrace their strengths, and then flexible pacing, which is what I was speaking to earlier. Not when the calendar says so, but when the child is ready to move on. And then we talked about career paths and apprenticeships into the work world, embedding work-based learning. All of those things will build a positive ecosystem for human beings.
100%. And that piece, the pacing piece. So I mentioned earlier a shift from subject-based to skill-based. Another shift I believe in fully is a shift from a time-based to a proficiency-based. Right?
Yes.
It's not exact. I will use your exact words, not what the calendar says. Just because summer happened and you were in third grade last year and next year is supposed to be fourth grade does not mean that that's how it should be. Right?
Right.
Students should move on at their own pace as they become proficient. And that works on both ends of the spectrum, right? Students who need more support should not be rushed to move forward. And students who are flying through it should not be held back by the constraints of the calendar.
I agree. And it could be both. Could
100%.
be that I need additional literacy experience, but I'm like flying high taking algebra 2. And,
Yep.
I've actually been in a school district that did that before at Rolla, Missouri. That's a math and science technology school, university in that town. And when I was the assistant superintendent there, we accelerated many, many kids that before they were in high school, they'd already taken all their math sequence. Uh,
Wow.
and because we had that philosophy, it's like you have to be flexible with time and flexible skills and allow children to bloom.
That's amazing.
Adaptive curriculum. Yeah.
That's amazing. Wow. Well, listen, I mean, after visiting Fayetteville, it's no surprise to me that you have this progressive visionary mindset because it just speaks through the walls on your campuses. So this conversation has been amazing. As kind of a final thought here, is there anything you want to leave with the listeners? Just words of wisdom, places they can find you, support you in Fayetteville?
Yeah, I think the bottom line is the whole child first. I think the emotional well-beings of all human beings, whether they're the adults in the school system or the children in the school system or the parents of our students, we need to focus more on the emotional well-being of people around us, and that's going to come when we quit pushing so hard for content and we start looking for talents and skills among our students.
So good. So good. Julie, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm fired up for the rest of my week now. This is awesome. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Thanks for listening. Got an idea, a story, or a question about what we discussed today? We'd love to hear from you. To learn more about Unique Learn, follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube and visit uniquelearn.co.